What's up, y'all? This is Relly back with another video, and today we gotta ask ourselves this question: is Cedi Osman truly the right player for the Cleveland Cavaliers? And I know, it is a lot of other players where that question might be a lot more prevalent. But I think it's only right that we start with Cedi Osman, since we have seen him more years and we have a lot more evidence to really conclude if he's truly the right fit here on the Cavs. Now, if we're going to be honest with ourselves, we all thought that Cedi Osman was going to be that star for the Cleveland Cavaliers. We thought he was going to be like an Anderson Varejao, right? Where he's marketable, he screams Cleveland, and that we all believe in him because he's just our Cleveland guy. But unfortunately, now that we know what we know, we understand that Cedi Osman was not that star, right? Now, has he been consistent for the most part? Absolutely. Has he had his moments? Absolutely. Has he made you possibly screamed at your TV? Absolutely. But one thing we cannot fault Cedi Osman for is his unloyalty. He has been loyal. He has done what he's supposed to do. He has gave us years that maybe he could have left earlier, could have demanded a trade, but he stood beside us, right? But it's time now that we have a playoff potential team where we got to ask ourselves, is Cedi Osman the right player for the Cleveland Cavaliers? And honestly, I'm not sure. But down in the comments, I would like to hear y'all side, because I don't know if all of Cleveland is sure if Cedi Osman is truly the right piece. Now, I'm not saying he's the guy that's the problem why we lost, because he's not the sole problem of why we lost. But we have to start reshaping our roster and making sure we have the right pieces in it. Now, I'm not sure how this offseason is going to go. Maybe it's going to be quiet. Maybe Kobe Altman believes in this roster. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he makes some small roster moves. We're going to see. But we got to ask ourselves first, is Cedi Osman going to be one of those players that's going to remain on the roster for next season? And honestly, I'm not sure. Now, if you really want to dig deep in Cedi Osman, you gotta look at the stats, right? What does the stats tell you about Cedi Osman these past couple seasons, right? When I look at his stats, right, this past season, he averaged 9 points, he gave you 2 rebounds, and if we do the real lucky, graceful roundup, he gave you 2 assists as well, right? He shot 45% field goal percentage, he shot 37% from the 3. He did what he was supposed to do this past season when you add a player, a dynamic player like Donovan Mitchell, right? Now, you look at the season before, keep in mind he played 66 games, right? He shot 43% field goal percentage. He shot 35% from the three-point line. So it was a dip from this current season, even though we got another player back in Donovan Mitchell, which shows you he actually plays better amongst star talent, which is a good sign, especially when you look at all of his other prior years, right? Because you have the year before the 43%, he shot 37% field goal percentage, and he shot 30% from 3, right? But what might make somebody kind of scared and nervous, right? When you look at his first season and his third season, you realize his first season was 48% from field goal percentage. His third season was 43.7. Do the lucky roundup, 44%. And from the first year, he shot 57% from, he shot 37% from 3, and he shot 38% from 3 his third season. So statistically, his best years on the Cavs was his first and third season. So he had a little bit of a dip, but he jumped back up from his worst year, which would have been his 4th year on the Cavs, right? But what does that mean? That means he has have a record of bouncing back when he has normally been a decent player. Now, should we trade him? That's a good question, especially when you've seen Cedi Osman more than what the stats has shown you himself, right? Because yes, he is a consistent player. Like statistically, he is a consistent player. Even if you've never watched him, he is a consistent player. A lot of teams would want Cedi Osman. He's not a terrible player, but when you give him the eye test, when you watch him on a day-to-day basis and you ask yourself, has he showed up when it's necessary, you kind of left yourself in a question because it's like, sometimes in the regular season, obviously we've seen him once in the playoff, not so much, but it is moments in the regular season where he's not showing up, he's not doing what he's supposed to do, especially when he is our wing player. And we've been literally fighting and gambling on who's going to take that position because that is the only position we have on the Cavs roster right now where we're just unsure, right? We put Isaac there, we put Cedi Osman there, and when we had Laurie, we put Laurie there, and that was really our long-term solution to that when we had him. Lamar Stevens, when he's healthy, we might slug him there. But honestly, we have no long-term small forward, and Cedi Osman hasn't necessarily been a bona fide small forward for us. And it's like, is he a player that we should trade? Now, here's my interpretation of it. Here's my point of view from it. Let's say it like that. Honestly, I wouldn't mind trading Cedi Osman if we got a better return, but if we're not getting a player back that's going to really help us, right? And I know that's everybody saying, of course, but I wouldn't be happy if we traded Cedi Osman for a Cameron Payne. That's like, even though Cameron Payne has been playing good, that wouldn't help the Cavs. You know what I mean? Like, we need a player back that truly helps. Like, if we somehow package a Cedi Osman to get a Buddy Hield, which would probably be a long shot, that is something I would want, right? Or we package Cedi Osman and we got back a Seth Curry and a Royce O'Neal package or something like that. That would be okay for me too. We need something that's going to completely help us change the dynamic of the Cavs, right? And when I say completely change, not like where we're just changing our philosophy in terms of defense and offense and all that, but just giving us enough respect on a day-to-day game where we have a player that can consistently hit shots, who can play defense, and who can consistently be there on the floor. You know what I mean? And I think this is the question we're going to ask ourselves in trying to either move or keep Cedi Osman. Is he the long-term fix for the Cavs going forward?
That's Atlantis with that money.